So sometimes when I speak at conferences, people don't understand how important it is to do video, and we're talking today about why you need to do video, so I thought I'd start with some research. In 2010, and this is just YouTube, all year long, worldwide, 700 billion videos were watched. And if you compare that with the number of humans on this earth, that means that every single human on this earth would have had to watch 100 videos. So a lot of people are watching video. And they're now uploading 35 hours every minute to YouTube. And again, this is just YouTube. YouTube is obviously the big one, but there's a lot of others. Netflix gets a lot of views, etc. When you look at 13 million hours uploaded, that's the same thing as if you convert it to 35mm film, you're talking about being able to wrap around the world twice with some to spare. And by the time this presentation's done, more than 525 full-length Hollywood features will be uploaded to YouTube. So a lot of videos being used, a lot of videos being uploaded, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. Cisco says that by 2014, it'll consume 14 gigabytes, or terabytes, sorry, of data. So video is huge, and it's responsible for a lot of the traffic in the internet. You can see the growth here. I don't have a laser, I should probably have laser. And it's outgrowing traditional media. Traditional media is going down, and that's why we're all here at e-marketing conference, yeah? So why is video so popular? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, we all know the moving picture is probably the most compelling way to tell a story. So, you know, ever since the caveman who used to write caveman drawings on the wall, a picture is worth 1,000 words. If you look at a video at 30 frames per second, 30 pictures per second, you know, 1 minute of video is equal to like almost 2 million words. So it's like an encyclopedia. And, you know, we all like to watch a video. Sometimes it's better than reading them. How many here would rather read about cloud computing than watch a video? Does anybody know what cloud computing is? It's very technical. And there's a lot of benefits of video, so this is why you should be doing it. These are just a few, but for e-commerce, we know it works. Not just e-commerce, but this first statistic here is for small and medium-sized businesses. So more than half of the people that watched a video, a business video, ended up taking some form of action. And we know that overall, when you put video on a website for e-commerce, that increases conversion. Zappos saw an increase of sales between 6 and 30%. And this year, because of that, 2010, they created 60,000 product videos in-house because of this. The other thing that I don't have a stat for, but I know directly from working with Zappos, is that the biggest thing that they found is a decrease in returns. So when somebody watches the video, they're more confident of what they're buying and they're less likely to return that. And that saves Zappos a lot of money. This is a recent study done by Forbes Insights, and it was interviewing over 300 executives in the S&P, so companies that exceed $500 million. And it shows that executives are watching video more than ever. They're watching video for work purposes, and many of them take action too. So you can see that many of them made a business purchase. More than 60% of them actually went to the vendor's website after watching a video. So it's powerful not just for marketing to consumers, but B2B. And we know, this is from DoubleClick and Google. This was, I should say 2008. Sorry about that. In any case, we know that video far outperforms text and display ads when you talk about video advertising. Putting a video, and I'm not talking about in-stream video advertising, but taking a video and using that as its own advertisement. And this is sort of my favorite because I'm an SEO person, but videos really help. That really doesn't look good. Videos really help with search at this point. So you've all seen universal search results, I imagine. Has anybody not seen that? Yeah, I didn't think so. So, you know, the videos are popping in the search results. When Google detects that the search you're doing, that you may be interested in a video, they'll serve that up from their video index. And the nice thing about that is, right now there's a huge early opportunity. there's not a lot of people who have video in Google, and especially video from their own website. So if you get in there, there's far less video results than there are, you know, web page results. So you have a very high chance of showing up on the first page. Forrester says a 50 times better chances to show up on the first page of Google. And this, I just wanted to show this example. Did anybody hear of United Brakes Guitars? Okay, so United Airlines, is United Airlines just American? Okay, it's a big airline in America. And this just shows you why you want to do video, because you can either control your brand presence or you can let everybody else control it. This person took a flight, and that's actually outside of the flight, and they broke his guitar. And he reported it, and they refused to do anything. They said it was his fault. So he actually wrote a song called United Brakes Guitars. And the very first day, if you went to Google and searched for United Airlines, the very first result was United Brakes Guitars. So it's not very good for their brand. Of course, they say that that cost them about $180 million off their share price that week. So they aggressively started doing video to combat that. But this is just, you know, it's one example. If you don't do video now, somebody else is going to start putting out video, and hopefully it's good video, but you never know. Okay, and there's lots of different types of video. So we all know viral video. You know, I don't have sound, do I? Because this is a funny video if you haven't seen. Ah, okay. I don't know which one it is. Yeah, this one. No? No, here? Yeah, you can hear. Oops. This thing has maybe, I forget how many, but millions and millions of views. It's several years old. We know viral video gets watched a lot. That's why it's viral. Sorry, I like cats. I think it's funny. Especially here. All right, so I'll skip that. The thing though is if you go out initially with the strategy of I'm going to let this video go viral, that's why we're creating this video, you know, 99.6% of the time you're going to fail. It's like playing Russian roulette. So, you know, even YouTube on their help center says most videos get less than 200 views. There are other ways that you can use video, and I think it's really important that you integrate video across the board. You can use video for customer service, you can use it for testimonials, investor relations, recruitment, and these are just a few examples of that. This is a product demonstration from Zappos, and we're actually working right now to optimize their videos for search so that when somebody searches for a shoe, their video will be the first result. Salesforce has a really good section on their website with customer testimonials, and they have many customer testimonials. They're very high quality, they're produced, and it just really helps reinforce their brand. Customer support, this is T-Mobile. I don't know if T-Mobile is American only. Yeah? No? Okay. So they have an entire section with just video that's about support. You know, how do you do this? How do you do that? And then, of course, MailChimp, which is an email marketing newsletter provider. You probably all know that. They have a company profile right on their homepage that explains what they do. So there's lots of ways that you guys can do video. And really, I think that the best way to integrate video is to really embrace it, have a dedicated, you know, resources towards it, whether it's a budget or whether that's internal. And really, it's not a, you know, put one video out and let it go, or put 2 videos out. It's about putting frequent video out, you know, whether that's 1 video a week or 1 video a month. If you look at Zappos, for example, and I know them really well, that's why I keep using them, but their YouTube channel, they have actually a web series. They have episodes that they're doing, so, and it's sort of entertaining. It's about company culture. So I think doing videos on a consistent basis is important, and YouTube tells all their partners the same thing because it drives a lot of audience, drives a lot of views. You can go a couple ways here. You can outsource this, which I think is a good idea because you get somebody who's dedicated and professional. You know, if you're a large brand and you've got in-house capabilities, I think that's good if you have to produce hundreds of videos. Like I said, Zappos has produced 60,000 just last year. I don't know how they did that. But you can hire an outsourced video production for these days for about $1,000 for a video. And if you look at broadcast television commercials, which really produce about the same quality of video, granted there's a media buy, you're talking about 50,000 or so. So when you've got these videos, where do you put them? Anyone think YouTube? You should all raise your hands. Definitely YouTube. 700 billion videos just last year. Well, the nice thing about video, as you know, is it's easily embeddable. You just take the embed code, you can put it almost anywhere. Obviously, you have to upload the video first, but it's really not that difficult. You should take that video and put it wherever your customers are. Definitely put it on your website. Whether that's I would do multivariate testing to determine whether or not it helps increase conversions. Most of the time it does, even with a homepage presence. You definitely want to put it up on YouTube, obviously. But social media is really big, and social video marketing is growing rapidly. And so putting this on Facebook, putting this on LinkedIn are actually pretty important. LinkedIn is a little bit more difficult. From what I hear, they're working on a solution to actually put your own video there. Right now, you can actually, using Google Docs, you can put a video into Google Docs and then use the Google Docs application on LinkedIn and have a video there. And you can just search for how to put a video on LinkedIn, and there's all sorts of results. Video websites, Dailymotion, from the research I did, is not as popular as it used to be a couple years ago, but they still get tremendous amount of traffic, especially here, and you probably know that. So certainly Dailymotion, YouTube, absolutely. MetaCafe, I don't know how familiar you are with MetaCafe, but when you syndicate to MetaCafe, they do really well in terms of search results. They tend to pop quite often with YouTube videos. So if your goal is to dominate the search results, whether you're pushing a negative review down or whether you just want to dominate that page, really MetaCafe and YouTube are the ones that I'm seeing pop the most. And then any other distribution channels. If you're an e-commerce provider, you can take your videos and put them on Amazon if you have an Amazon store. So it's important really that you distribute this everywhere that your customer is. And in all honesty, I've seen no research that shows this not working. There's a couple instances where e-commerce videos need to be multivariate tested, but for the most part, with e-commerce videos, there was even a study done where they did some testing with video and without video, and they noticed that even when the people didn't play the video, just the fact that there was a video on the page increased conversions. And I guess the thought there is that if you have video on your page, you're probably more advanced, you probably have more resources, you're probably more professional. So we talked about getting into YouTube. I'm going to kind of focus here on YouTube and how to optimize for YouTube and how to get views. It used to be, if you go back 3 years ago, you could put a video up on YouTube, you could title it with a couple keywords, description tags, and it would show up almost immediately. Now, not only is there way more videos, 13 million uploaded just last year, but they've increased the search factors, and I'll get into that in a second. So really there's a couple things you need to think of with YouTube. You really got to produce, when I say quality content, and we'll get into that, not necessarily high production value, although I certainly recommend that, but quality content that's engaging, unique, informative, honest. And then you do need to know the SEO basics. That's still important. So obviously you want to include your keywords in the title, description, tags, and we'll get to that a little bit deeper. And then audience development is important, and that's why I recommend having a dedicated resource, whether it's your social media manager in-house or whether it's a dedicated person, depending on how many videos you're doing. Really fostering your YouTube presence is important for rankings. So if we talk about quality content here, let me show you something that, oh, do I not have a link? I'm not sure if I do. This is what you don't want to do. When people are online watching video, I call it lean forward. They're pressing a button to press play. They want to watch that. In television, you're watching some show and it interrupts you. So you got to think about the fact that the disruptive marketing approach really doesn't work with online video very well. There's a couple instances where it has, but only when the videos are incredibly interesting. Did anyone see the Old Spice video campaign? I think it was a US phenomenon, but it was huge. I certainly recommend watching that. If you go to YouTube, look for Old Spice. It's a deodorant, And they got a whole bunch of videos. They did a really nice campaign, and they're quite funny. But this is an example. This is like a Subway sandwich chain in the U.S. It's a pretty big chain. And they took a bunch of their videos from their TV commercials and put those online. And it was a complete flop, total fail. You can see here that more than half the people dislike it. I probably shouldn't have kept that word in the comments there, but the comments are not too good either. So that's what you don't want to do. What you do want to do is create magnetic, unique content, tell a story, be honest. I'll show you this example here. This is Domino's Pizza, which is a big, I don't know if you have that here. You do? Okay, good. Big pizza chain. I used to actually work there in high school, delivering pizzas. But in any case, I don't know how many of you had Domino's Pizza, but it started getting horrible. In fact, I haven't ordered it in maybe 10 years because it was awful. And they saw that people were saying that, and they actually responded with a real honest video. And if I can play that. Can't hear it, can you? Well, regardless of whether you can't hear it, this was produced by Domino's. They had no problem. Yeah. Oh. Can you all hear this? Wow.
Something no one said can be done. In fact, the first pizza delivery vehicle for our company was that vehicle right there. Around the 80s, we were exploding. We were the fastest growing company in the history of.
I probably don't need to go through the whole thing.
Now we're almost 9,000 restaurants around the world. We love what we do at Domino's.
Pizza, where's the love? How are bread, sauce, cheese, fresh ingredients? Doesn't feel like there's much love in Domino's pizza. Domino's pizza crust to me like cardboard. Yeah, head wash.
Anyway, so it continues like that, but the point here is that they weren't afraid to be honest and embrace it, and their entire campaign, both offline and online, was based around this and how they're making a big change and their pizza is going to be much better. I haven't actually tried it yet, but hopefully it is. So, you know, create really quality content, as you know, with even, is anyone here an SEO person? Oh, yay. Yes, oh, yes, that's what it is. With search engine optimization, there's important factors like building links to your website. Probably all know about building links. Making sure your website has the right words in it. But after you've done that, it becomes viral as soon as you start creating good quality content. You know, for example, with Real SEO, I have enough readers now and enough people quoting and linking to me that I don't have to do any SEO. They're doing it for me. So again, it's about quality content. If you put quality content on the web, video, people will share it, and it may not go viral, but it'll certainly succeed a lot more than that Quiznos video. So as far as the SEO basics, you know, this is an example of some of YouTube's ranking factors. We know for a fact that they look at every single one of these to determine a ranking of a video. So it's not just about tags and description and title, although that's certainly still important. You know, you have to generate views, you have to engage with the audience. Comments are important, so certainly allow comments on your videos. And if you see negative comments, you can either block them, remove them, or what I'd suggest is respond to them. You know, again, engage like you would on Facebook. These are more YouTube ranking factors. Some of these are what the industry experts assume. Obviously, we don't know what YouTube's algorithm is, but through testing, we can determine that some of this is valid. So social media buzz, we know that they're looking out there to see not only within YouTube, but how many times was this video shared on Facebook? How many times was it shared on Twitter? What sort of influencers are looking at that video? If you had, for example, and I'm not actually a big fan, but if you had your video show up on Mashable, you know, YouTube could detect a huge uplift in views in a short amount of time, and they would see that it's buzzworthy. So, you know, this is a little overwhelming, but there's lots of different factors. As far as the SEO basics, it's really just one thing. Don't be lazy. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at a video on YouTube and the title is, you know, 1234.mov. No description, no tags. So Titles are probably the most important, and you want to include your keywords in there. Don't make it spammy, because even though you're trying to optimize for search, that's what people see when they're doing a search. So you want it to be compelling. It's a fine balance. That being said, you can actually include your keyword twice, as long as it's not, again, you want it to be a compelling title, but that does actually help with ranking. So if you had, for example, I'm going to refer back to the US, but apartment for rent in California, you might want to say apartment for rent in California, apartments for less or something. Use the word apartment, use semantically related keywords. That's all important. The description is also very important. In the description, they actually allow you 5,000 characters within there. So every text, every piece of word that you put in there is another chance for that to rank for a different term. So, leverage that description as much as you can. The other thing, though, is don't take a description that you have somewhere else and copy and paste it. You really need a unique description here, and you could just rewrite it and that would be fine. Tags are really important with YouTube. I don't know how many of you know this, but tags on your website are actually not important at all. The search engines really don't even look at them anymore. But on YouTube, it is very important. And with all three of these, put your keywords first, if you can. So, put your keywords in the first part of the description, in the first part of the tags, in the first part of the title, because those are the actual words that show up in the head of the document, which the search engines use to determine rankings. So that's really important. You can upload HD video to YouTube. I think at this point, a lot of people still aren't consuming HD because of CPUs, and that's going to change very, very fast. But I could easily see YouTube down the road making this a ranking factor. If you have higher quality video, why not show it higher? And you can actually do a search on YouTube now and say, I just want HD video. So if you don't upload HD video, you're at least not going to show up for those people that want to see HD video. Annotations, how many of you know what annotations are or have used annotations? Okay, it wasn't something that I really liked for a long time. It works tremendously well. I took one video that I had, it had 20,000 views, but it was 13 minutes long. So I chopped it up into 3 pieces, and in the main video I said, if you'd rather skip to this piece, click here, etc. It drove another 30,000 views just from those 3 videos. So, and they actually recommend YouTube in their guidelines to partners to do annotations, because obviously YouTube wants to drive views, drive advertising revenue, etc. The one caveat here, though, is if you've ever seen a YouTube video with all those annotations all over the place, a lot of people will abandon your video. So you don't want to make it too crazy. If you guys want to take a look at a really good example, there's a YouTube guy by the name of Freddie, and he does these independent kind of film videos on YouTube, and at the end of his videos he has great annotations. He actually, within his video production, plans for that, so that he'll have a person doing this, and then when he goes on YouTube they'll put up an annotation. Drives a lot of views. I really think you should upload manually, and the reason I say that, as opposed to say TubeMogul or YouTube's API, just because there's so many things you can't do with TubeMogul and with YouTube's API that you can. For example, annotations, closed captioning. And actually, I don't know can you upload HD, Tomas, through TubeMogul? I don't think you can. Yeah, so besides that, and we'll get into this, you really should be fostering that community. So be involved. Closed captions actually get searched. So if you put a video up, let's say it has no description, no title, no tags, but within that video somebody says apartments for rent, and you have closed captions, your video will show up for that search term, which I think is very interesting. So if we talk about audience, again, I really think you should engage with YouTube. Don't just create a channel, put a video up, and leave it. The best way to do that is to really get engaged. Allow people to comment, allow people to rank the video, to rate the video, allow it to be mobile friendly. I'm surprised, but I'm actually getting about 5% of my video traffic from mobile usage on YouTube. So, this will also allow it to go on Google TV, which isn't there yet, but I suspect it'll be pretty popular. Encourage people to embed your video. Encourage people to subscribe. Encourage people to thumbs up your video. And you can actually put an annotation right at the beginning of your video that says, hey, if you like this, please give us a thumbs up. Because YouTube does look at thumbs up as a ranking factor. And again, they look outside of YouTube too. So, if you can get key influencers, for example, I mentioned Mashable or Huffington Post or TechCrunch or anybody you know that's, say, an insider and an influencer, if they use your video, that will help with YouTube rankings. They'll also help with views, obviously. YouTube promoted videos, which I'll go a little bit more into, is extremely helpful in driving views and also driving people back to your website, which is one of the reasons a lot of people aren't doing YouTube for business. I shouldn't say a lot of people, most people are actually in the US, but one of the fears is that, well, if everybody goes to YouTube, how are they going to come to my website? So I'll show you how you can do that. You know, and don't forget to reach out inside. So if you've got a company with 1,000 employees, and it's okay to do so, send an email and say, here's the video we just produced, what do you guys think? They'll all watch it. They better or you'll fire them, right? Okay, again, so how do you bring YouTube users that are watching your video back to your website? There's a couple simple things. The first is, if you don't know this, if you include the http:// a full URL in your description, that's actually clickable. It isn't followed, which is an SEO term, meaning it doesn't help your website rank any better, but it allows people to click on it. And so this is an example of a video I did about Kevin Naltz, who wrote a great book on viral video. And it just says buy beyond viral. And you can actually, I've used the keywords, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 right in the beginning. But people can click on that and go right to Amazon. And you know, it's not going to drive a ton of conversions, but it will help. You can obviously do this within your video. Add a unique coupon code. That way you know that these people are coming from YouTube. You can even do QR codes. There's a guy that has a company by the name of Dynamite, and he just did an experiment with a QR code in a YouTube video, and he's seeing huge uplift. So it's quite interesting. 800 call tracking numbers. We had a video for a Chevrolet dealer in Colorado, and because of the call tracking number we had in only the YouTube video, we were able to listen to a person call him from Canada and purchase a $60,000 Chevy full-size diesel truck. I don't know why they drive those things, but anyway, you can track exactly what happens. And this is kind of a quick tip for you guys, but YouTube promoted videos, again, it's definitely a way to drive video views. But one of the nice things is you actually get this overlay ad where, you know, that's my ad. So I put that on the video. It says, hey, if you want to learn more about SEO, click here. And that goes to my website. And that doesn't cost anything. You get that free as long as you're bidding on keywords. I'll tell you a trick to that in a second, though. But the way it works is it's a cost per click, just like AdWords. So you may bid on Videoagency France. And if anyone were to search for Videoagency, you have your video there. And when they click on your video, you can have this overlay ad that'll say, hey, for more information on Videoagency, come to our website. So this is incredibly powerful. The trick that's kind of actually fun is you can set this up and then pause your campaign and pay nothing, and you still get the overlay. I think it's a bug, but YouTube isn't going to fix it because I talked to them about it and they're fine with it. So this is costing me nothing, and I don't get charged every time someone leaves YouTube and comes to my site either. So do this. I think we're almost out of time, right? Okay, so if you guys want to learn more, obviously I made my site the big presence here, but you know, we do try to really produce quality informational articles that should be of help. It's not just SEO. That's kind of where I started. Unfortunately, I still have that name and that. But as soon as I started diving into video, I found out really quickly it isn't just about, you know, the basic SEO stuff I used to know. I better learn how to produce video. I better learn how to edit video and all that stuff. So a lot of this, in all honesty, is I commission my writers to write something that I want to know. And so I'm learning from this as well. But we try to write about everything related to online video. I'd also encourage going to these other sites. Streamingmedia.com is really about technology, not so much marketing, but if you're into the technology of online video and how that's progressing. Advertising Age, Video Insider, and New TV, I could have put those together. Those are more about advertising with video. We also cover that. If you want to learn more about producing video, Vimeo has an incredible library of videos about how to create video, how to edit video. So I encourage you to go to all these websites. And if you need any strategic consulting with regard to online video, because we really feel you need a comprehensive strategy, you know, producing ongoing video content, having goals up front, measuring those goals, learning from those goals, optimizing your video. If you need any help with that, I've recently partnered with Tomas from Videoagency, and we're more than happy to, obviously, to do any consulting that you might need.